Hey everyone, welcome to the KE Report and a company update from Novo Resources. Chatting again with Mike Spreadborough, the executive co-chairman, and Kas De Luca, the general manager of exploration. This is going to be more of an exploration update focused on some recent gold as well as antimony results from the Teichman area, Sherlock area, and Tibooburra projects. Some of those being in the Pilbara and Tibooburra being in New South Wales. Novo Resources is traded on the TSX under the symbol NVO, on the OTCQB under the symbol NSRPF, and the Australian exchange NVO. Let's get right into it. Mike, just with a quick overview. It's been a couple of months since I last chatted with you. There's been a lot of news out of the company, all on the exploration front. So bring us up to speed on the overall exploration that is ongoing this now summer in Australia.
Yeah, it definitely seems as though we've been a bit quiet over the last couple of months because we haven't put out too many updates. But during that period, the exploration team have been extremely busy. So we've done drilling at Sherlock that we flagged to everyone. So we'll give you a good update on the results, and there's a release to that. But the team have been out there on the ground doing grassroots exploration and geology. So you'll hear us talk about Teichman, which is kind of in the area of where the Great Hemi project is, 13 million ounces. And they've also been on the ground at Tibooburra trying to understand the northern strike length of that system post the drilling that we've done at Clone. So we have been busy, and it's been great to bring to everyone these updates this week. And we've also put out a new corporate presentation which brings it all together. So there's a lot of news out there for everyone. So it is great to be back here to give everyone a good update.
So, Kaz, let's start off with Teichman. So, as Mike said, it's close to this Egina JV. I'm curious, though, we're seeing some very high-grade gold samples, as high as, I believe, 77 grams per ton gold in the rocks right at surface, as well as a couple other high-grade gold results. Just a question, is this the first time that anyone has really explored this area? Give us some insights on why you're here now.
Hi, Cory. Yeah, look, we're really excited. This is the first time we've been trying to get into this area for a few years even now. And, all the compliance type things up in the Pilbara, they get pretty complicated sometimes. But it's the first time really since we've got some historical numbers from the 80s when a couple of groups did some very sporadic work out there. But we've really started to do some systematic work there now. We do have some really good relationships with the Aboriginal community out there, and at Teichman particularly, we knew there were a couple of little highlights from very old work, up around 20 gram per tons, but we could never really go out and confirm it until now. So that really let us in. But as I say, this is the first time that we've really been able to do some systematic work, and results out of 80 or so samples, we've got 11 over 10 grams per ton, including those big ones at 77.5 and 51.4. Very exciting time. And not just that, Cory, but we've started now to really understand the geology and the complexity of the geology. So if your listeners go and have a look at the latest corporate preso or the release, you'll see that there's two trends at Teichman that are really interesting, Pride and Teichman itself, scattered high grades all throughout those rocks, which we really do kind of understand right now. And the guys have done a really good aerial view as well, showing the outlook. It's pretty easy to access relative to the Pilbara. And we're looking forward to doing some follow-up work there as quickly as possible.
So, Kaz, let's just quickly outline the potential size of this. As you said, two different corridors that you're looking at. The news release says this is an area of 1.3 to 2.5 kilometers. These samples that were taken, was it over that whole area? And are you narrowing that area at all? Or is this all just perspective for potentially future drilling?
Oh, look, both of these trends are really prospective. There is cover sequences through there. We're not that far from the Pilbara cover, the Fortescue group unconformities, which that hosts all the iron ore. But this window is really obvious. It's a trend that we know and love. We've already done some work along this trend far down in the south at Nunyerry. And as Mike said, it trends right up into our Egina joint venture to the north. This is actually a small joint venture area with the Creasy Group, with Mark Creasy, who I'm sure some of your listeners will know who he is, very successful prospector. And yeah, both of those trends, this is really outcrop. This is the areas that we've managed to identify outcrop. Really, next step is drilling. So that's going to be our plan, is to try and get in there. Obviously, it's late in the season for us now, and it's cyclones and all sorts of good things that are going to come around. The weather's pretty awful up in the Tibooburra already, but certainly we'll be heading back out that way as soon as we can with the drill rig.
Give us a little insight then on any other work that needs to be done here, or what a drill program could look like when, I guess, the weather permits.
Oh, look, I think, Cory, there's some obvious targets. There's, as I said, these two trends. There's about 1 kilometre on each that look particularly good just from the surface sampling. There's actually a third trend that we didn't really highlight because we haven't done enough work out there, but Mountain Maid is a prospect in the south that might actually be along a third trend. The rocks look good. The quartz veining looks good. It looks pretty simple to understand. There is a bit of structural complexity, but our guys are right on top of all that. So, two prospects that have 1 kilometre trend with over 10 grams up to 70 odd grams, looking pretty good. Pride North-Northeast is particularly good. That's where the super high grades have been coming in from.
All right, let's move over to Sherlock Crossing then, also in the Pilbara. Gold and antimony results, some surface samples, but also some drill results. Seems like more of a scout drill program here where you got something like 8 holes in for just over 1,000 meters. Also hit some generally high grade, not as high as what we were talking about at Teichman, but Kas, take us through what the drilling, what the sampling is all about at Sherlock Crossing, please.
Okay, Sherlock Crossing we've been working on, off and on. It's been a smallish project, but we know that there's really high grade gold and antimony from historical records, and we're talking about, hand-picked mining way back in the 50s. Since then, we've done a body of work on this area. We've shown that there's a really broad soil anomaly that looks around 1.5 kilometres long. But as you say, this scout drilling is just on the most obvious area where we've got good results from surface. And, the next step again is just to put the drill holes through there and have a look, see what we can find. Now, look, our best results have come back at 3 meters at almost 3 grams with 1.8% antimony, including the best sample within those 3 meters is 7.7 grams per tonne gold and 4.77 antimony. So there is high grade there. The section that we've shown in the release just shows how difficult it's going to be to really kind of nail this, because it seems to pinch and swell a little bit. But we know the high grade's there. We know the anomaly extends for over 1 kilometre. Next steps are really to step back and have a look at the bigger picture to see what we really think, how big this gold antimony system is.
So, Kas, where does this one now land on, let's say, the priority ranking? Will you be getting back early next year to drill it, or will there be a focus on some of these other targets and other projects?
Oh, look, we'll work this one up, Cory. As in a lot of the Australian states now, it's really a matter of we really work everything up, and then it's about compliance. So when we get the appropriate levels of compliance, that really kind of is part of the prioritisation, unfortunately. It's not always just about geology. So Sherlock will definitely be a priority. We are looking at a government-assisted system that we have in WA called the EIS, Exploration Incentive Scheme, where the government will actually fund you half of your drilling costs, making somewhat more conceptual ideas a little bit more palatable for us, because it's really difficult to gauge this one against Teichman that's had really zero systematic work and no drilling. So in reality, Teichman will be our highest priority in the West. But obviously, we won't forget this one. It's still looking pretty good in my eyes.
Now, just remind us with Sherlock Crossing, is that 100% owned? Is that also under this Creasy JV? What's the ownership structure like?
No, this is 100% Novo.
Let's move down to New South Wales then, at the Tibooburra project. some high-grade results again at this Pioneer North and Pioneer South targets. Pioneer North had almost 40 grams per ton of a peak result, and Pioneer South had upwards of almost 20 grams per ton gold in a peak result. So what are we looking at Tibooburra in terms of exploration and following up on these surface results?
Okay, Tibooburra, in my eyes, it's been a really well thought out and well conducted systematic program this year. We've managed to get in and out of Tibooburra with all the compliance we need, landholder access easily. The locals love us. We stay at Tibooburra out there and, actually in the town itself. And literally it's a 20-minute drive out to site every day. So it's a great project to work on. And we've managed to get back 5 times this year, including the drilling. So we've done systematic work. We've extended the size of the anomaly and the breadth of the anomaly that we know is there. We've really only worked on 2 of the several gold trends in this Albert Goldfield that we know from historical workings are there. And, they trend up to 22 kilometres that we've seen. So we're trying to make a more systematic approach to this. We're having a lot of success. And you can see in that last piece of work we've done, we've extended up to the north from Clone up to Pioneer. And yeah, as you say at the beginning, again, lots of really good results from surface sampling. We've also extended our land package out there at the moment. So we've just put an exploration license around the trends that we know that the historical workings extend into this new ground. And yeah, we're actually working this up and we're working towards new drilling targets for next year. We've got a lot of experience in the Victorian goldfields and the rocks here are pretty similar, the setting's pretty similar. So we've tailored our programs. The Clone drilling was the first pass, and again, like a scout type work, which, we had pretty good success at Clone in the first instance. And now we've actually got ideas about the same sort of plunge components to the north in the Pioneer trend and at New Bendigo. And we really need some time across the summer season to put this all together. Because, again, it's looking pretty hot and horrible out there at the moment. So we'll do a lot more work on this before early next year when we can get back out there again.
So how many target areas, let's say, do you have on Tibooburra right now?
Well, we call, for a good reason, we call one of them Clone and the Clone trend because much of this area to the south is undercover. One of the things that drew us to the Albert Goldfields is that, there's obviously historic workings, they're systematic, they've been done by old timers, and you can see the trends really clearly. However, just south of Clone on the one trend and just south of New Bendigo on the more southern trend, and there are other trends like Warrata Reef that we're just developing now, the cover sequence comes in and we know the trends go under the cover. They're really quite coherent. So we're thinking about where is the next big one. So definitely testing undercover is one of the next steps that's being thought about, just in terms of how to put the programs together for next year.
All right, Mike, let's get you back in here with a comment more on the strategy heading into next year. You're doing a lot of exploration. You've done a lot of exploration this year. You have so many different projects here. How can we really get a handle on what you're looking for next year in terms of what you're going to be drilling? Do you focus on size? Do you focus on grade? Do you focus on location? Tie it all together for us of what we can expect for next year.
Yeah, I think Kas has painted a really good picture of, the recent work. And as you've heard, we've got an absolutely brilliant exploration team. They do a great job on the ground, and we've actually had the benefit of some of those early stage projects like Teichman to finally get there and build them up. So to answer your question, Cory, probably still number one priority for us, and we haven't talked about it today, is we still like the John Bull project. We're trying to work through with land access. So without a doubt that it's priority number one for drilling. In terms of the rest, I think Kas did a pretty good job of explaining we will balance what we think is the potential of the project versus the complexity of getting onto the ground. And we'll balance those. And over the Christmas period, we'll work up a program for late Q1. As Kas said, generally we don't go drilling till March or April, be given the weather in the Pilbara or Tibooburra. We can go into New South Wales a little bit earlier and John Bull if the rain doesn't come in. If it rains, it's not a very nice place to be. So we'll kind of have something more to say early next year once that good work that Kas talked about, building up Teichman into a drill program, working on how we can get access there, which won't be a simple approval process from the government, building up Sherlock, building up Tibooburra. As Kas said, Tibooburra's got the advantage that it is very easy for us to get in and out of there, both geology and drilling wise. So we'll kind of build up those pictures. We mustn't forget that we still have our Belltopper project, and we're doing some work on the background on the next strategy for Belltopper. So you'll hear more about Belltopper probably early Q2 next year on where we think we take that project. So we've got a lot on our plate. We've kind of got enough money in the bank. We've just divested a little bit of the SCM portfolio. So we've got money in the bank that will allow us to progress our exploration in the first part of next year. So that's really good. We still remain focused on looking for other projects to bring on board into our portfolio. So it's greenfields exploration. Some of these projects, you get in and do the drilling, and unfortunately it's not as good as you like. Others, a bit like Teichman, you get on the ground and you get an absolute surprise package, and that kind of moves our focus around. But we're in a good position, I think, going forwards into 2026 with, as you know, still quite a good sustained high gold price.
So, Mike, are you looking to find partners to advance some of these projects like you have with some of the JVs already on the books, or do you foresee moving a lot of these projects, the ones that are 100% owned, forward simply yourself?
Yeah, the projects we've talked about today, obviously Teichman's already in a 70-30 joint venture where we're 70%. Sherlock's something that we will progress ourselves, but what we do with that in the long run, don't know. So most of these projects we'll be able to prosecute ourselves without having to bring in partners.
Okay. Well, thanks for the update here, Mike and Kas. I'll post a link to the company's website so you all can read over the recent news. Please send me any questions you have, whether project specific or general strategy wise. I will get the team at Novo to answer those for you and possibly bring them up on future interviews. I'll also follow up as we get some more news on all the exploration ongoing. So again, Mike Spreadborough, Executive Co-Chairman of Novo Resources, and Kas De Luca, General Manager of Exploration. Thank you both for the update today.
Thanks very much, Cory.
Thanks, Cory.